Here's Lumix, the 12 to 35 and the 35 to 100 f2.8. This is version 1, that's version 3. For the longest time, when I first started with Micro Four Thirds, this was the dual lens kit that I needed that would be good for all of my filmmaking, for documentary, for events, for narrative. The 12 to 35, 35 to 100, which is in full frame terms a 24 to 200. That focal range covers the majority of what people need when they're filming documentaries and events. So if you're filming conferences, you might need something longer than 100. And then if you want some stylistic sports kind of stuff, you might want to go wider than 12. And I have those lenses as well. But these were the ones that always came with me when I first went into Micro Four Thirds. And when the update came for version 2, I wasn't reading that many great reviews saying that it was a big upgrade to version 1, so I kept it. And then version 3, these just happened to be on sale. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gotten this. But in this video, I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on the version 1 to the version 3. So if you're in the market for these kinds of lenses, or if you have version 1 and you're debating if you should upgrade to the version 3 now, this video will give you my thoughts on that topic. So first, when it comes to the build quality with both the first generation here, you can see the color design is, I guess, on the gray to purple. This is what their first range of lenses looked like, the coloring. Just like that. And then with this new one, even with version 2, they went all matte black. I don't know if I like the matte black better, but this is fine. When it comes to the build quality between the first generation and the third generation, aside from the color, they feel very similar. There's one ring here that's rubberized and another one that's not rubberized. It's part of the same kind of material that the rest of the outer lens is built from. And same thing with this. Here, it's more rigid focusing, I think. So if you have cinema gears, this might be a little better with the depth of this ring to dig into the gears than the first gen. Although the first gen, I don't know, it's a slight difference. And then the rubberized zoom ring, I always like the rubberized zoom ring. Feels the same to me. They're both 58 millimeter lens threads. So if you have 58 millimeters, all of them are 58. And even here, the 35 to 100s, these ones have an internal zoom, so they don't protrude when you zoom. It stays all within the body. Both of them stay within the body. The version 3 feels slightly heavier, but I don't think it's noticeable when you put it on a camera. Same kind of switches. This does the image stabilization. No other switches on this one. Image stabilization, on, off. That's about it. I'm gonna go to a test with the GH7, which is I think the best Micro Four Thirds Panasonic camera you can get right now. GH7. I'm gonna use the same autofocus settings on the camera. Same exact settings. What I'm gonna do is do a lens test with all of these, pairing them neck and neck, so you can see the differences in what version 1 and version 3. I'm first going to test the 12 to 35. This is the first generation of the 12 to 35 f.2. Here's the third generation right here. And shooting that color chart. Right now it's all the way open at 2.8 and then it's at 12 millimeters. Zoom in and out. Let's see if there's any stepping. How it handles focus. There's a little bit of wobble because my tripod isn't that stable. All right, testing those. Let's test some focusing. Here's the lens. I'm gonna do center focus, see how fast this is. This is when it's at 12 millimeters. Okay, let me go to 25 millimeters. And then let me go to 35. This is 35. That's probably the minimum focus distance right there. So this is just a regular LED light, flashlight. Get the lens flare in there, get it at different angles. Let me zoom in and get some lens flare. This is at 25 millimeters. Here's the 12 to 35 f2.8 version 3. This is the version 1 lens right here. I'm zoomed out all the way at 12 millimeters and it's at f2.8. Let's test some zoom to see if there's any stepping. Alright, let's test some focus. I'll see how fast the focus is. 12 millimeters. Wow, this is really close. I don't think I tested this with the version 1 to be that close. Alright, now I'm going to go to 25 millimeters. Getting really close. And then I'm going to go to 35. See how close I can get at 35 millimeters. That was probably too close. Wow, like 6 inches. Still in focus. Alright, let's test some lens flare. Oops. Zoom out. I do not have the lens hood on. Lens flare when I zoom. .35. Here's the 35 to 100 f2.8. It's at f2.8 and at 35 millimeters. Here's version 3. Let's test so if there's any stepping of the iris when I go zoom in and out. I don't think it steps. Okay, let's get some autofocus testing. How close can it autofocus? Dang, right over there. Okay, it's a far focus distance. I'm even tapping on the focus does not want to focus. Alright. So when I zoom in more, it's 100. Let's try some lens flare. It's at 35. Let's zoom in. Here's the 35 to 100 2.8 version 3. It's at f2.8 right now at 35. Here's the first gen. Let's test to see any stepping of the iris. Go into 100, 35, 100, 35. Now let's test this minimum focus distance. Now let's see if it does it. Nope. Yeah, right there. Very similar to the first version. Okay, let's see what happens when we zoom in. Nope, lost the focus. Got it back. Ooh, I lose it at 100. Okay, now let's test the flaring. Okay, here's at 35. Zooming in. I cannot really tell the difference that makes a significant decision to whether to go to the 1 to the 3. If you have version 1, or if you're looking for this set and you find a great deal on version 1, I think you should just get version 1. The two issues that I did encounter, that I did notice between generation 1 and generation 3, were the flaring on both of these lenses. The flaring is handled better in version 3 from version 1. But flaring, you can control with the lens hoods or how you position the camera. Unless you're doing a documentary where it's run and gun, then where you can't control flaring, then get version 3, because the version 3 is going to help with the flaring more than version 1. But if flaring doesn't bother you, then version 1's good. And then the other thing that I noticed an improvement is with the autofocus and minimum focus distance. So the minimum focus distance on the version 3 is better than version 1. So with the 12 to 35, for example, I was able to get objects way closer to the lens than version 1. Version 1, I needed to be farther away for the minimum focus. And then when it comes to the overall focusing of the 35 to 100, because telephoto zooms, those usually are harder with focus, I found version 3 to be more consistent and easier to use than version 1. Version 1, I will say that when I was all the way zoomed in and I was moving around a lot, shooting documentaries, there would be instances where this would rack focus when I'm on an autofocus, and it wouldn't hold it, or it would focus on the wrong thing, and it would always have to go to manual focus. With version 3, unless I'm in those extreme cases, I might be very similar, but I've noticed in my tests that this handles the focus changes better than version 1. When Panasonic first came out with these lenses, I just think they hit it out of the park. They did a good job from the get-go. The main reason why I got version 3 was these were on sale and I had the money for it. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gotten these if they weren't on sale. But if you're in the market for these kinds of lenses, or if you wanted to upgrade and what I said matters to you, then upgrade. But if they don't matter to you and you've been happy with this, or you just want something lower budget and what I said doesn't bother you, then version 1.